Filters got switched.
When?
I don't know.
You didn't go back to filter number 1.
I would go into the strip tank and take a shot of that, you know.
Scrape home.
How many layers is that taking off at one time?
One layer at a time. Usually getting the one layer off gives the remover a chance to start acting on the next layer, and the next layer, and on the next layer. So that's where the flow over method is beneficial in order to find out what that basic color was, or that bottom color was, the original color, on the bottom of the layers of paint, which could be anywhere upward from 10, 15, up to maybe 20 coats of paint sometimes on some of these animals that come in.
What's the most number of coats you've had?
I would think the most number of coats I have personally seen, and they could be I usually tell everybody that it could be upward from 8 layers of paint.
Now, when would they
over the years.
when would they reshoot their? When would they repaint these things? Every year, every couple years, as they needed it?
Well, quite often what they would do is on a yearly basis they would go in and paint the horse, sometimes in the same color that they had on there already.
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes they would change the coloring because they didn't have that particular color paint available anymore, so they would use different color paint that they had available. Now, the reason they would do this is to keep the animal up from year to year, to make sure that it would stay in good shape from year to year, so that it could continue to have the ride going on a yearly basis. Which, in the process of doing this, they did manage to preserve the wood for that long length of time. Interesting in the original paint job or anything like that, we could take a wet cloth and wipe that off. It'll stop the action of the stripper. And we're able to make a tracing or document it, photograph it, whatever, if it's a very interesting situation.
What color would it be? Would it be just complete wood when you're finished with it? Or?
Well, it'll be wood, and it almost looks like there's, see this over here? When we finish with this, I'll wash it down with a cold water rinse. All right? You'll get down to the wood grain. It almost looks like this here has been stripped before with a heat gun.
How can you tell?
Well, I'm looking at the charred marks here. See? You look at the charred marks. If it was in a fire or something like that, it would be a lot more of a charring. But if you look at just the charred marks like this in the different areas, it's been stripped before with a heat gun. Of course, and here too.
Now, why only on one side?
On that one side, because the heat and the intensity of the heat was on this side of the horse.
Right.
And if you go on the other side of the horse, and you look on the other side of the horse, it's not been charred at all. You'll see the whiter wood, the whiter color of the wood, and you can see the dividing point right here, where this was actually, the heat was on this side. If you look on this side over in here, you'll notice that the wood is whiter, but it does have charring marks in here, which might have been burning paint or something that caused that particular, these particular marks. But this horse was obviously stripped and repainted because we had no idea that it was ever in a fire until we stripped it down. This horse's twin brother is the horse that this gentleman's working on repairing right behind you at the present time. If you look at the same side, which is this side over here, the only difference you'll see is where that's not the one, no, it's this one here. Excuse me.
Oh, okay.
It's this one here. The second one in.
Oh, okay, I'll get a shot at it, sir.
It's the second one in. I was wondering why all that carving was on that horse. But it's the second one in here. That's the twin brother of that one.
Sure.
If you look at the trappings, they're all the same. The tilt of the head is the same. The mane is the same. The difference is this one.
Sure, come on back.
Come on down here.
Come on back.
Yeah,
here.
come on down.
Oh, I'm going to be shooting you from the back. And for that matter, I'm looking at the horse.
No, I mean, so you worried
Don't
about
worry,
getting
your
up
family and
there.
friends
No,
will see.
that's the whole thing. No, I was just concerned about it. No, all right. What we were talking about here is the alligator that's taking place. That's all these little lines in the wood, okay? And that's a common problem with this type of fringe trim on a horse. What we do two things with it. Depending on how bad they are, if they're cracks in the center, we'll fill it now. If they're not, we wait and we put a couple of coats of primer on first, all right? Then we take it with that white filler that we use, and we fill these spots up with that. Because this is something that's pretty difficult to sand out. So we just try to get it with other means, you know?
And then you smooth it and
And
recarve
we
it?
smooth it out, and recarve it, but we usually wait till after we put the first coat of primer on the piece first. That takes care of
Fill
it.
some of it out.
Yeah. Now see what's happening here? This is why we've got to get this piece shellacked as soon as possible.
It's starting again.
It's starting all over again, and this is the fourth time around again. So we got to stop it somehow. So you have it here also. So rather than fill it with any kind of a filler, we have a pretty standard policy here that we try to use as much wood as possible. So we put a wood eyelid in there.
Huh.
And the fact that it was just done not too long ago, we don't want to push at it too much. I've got it pretty much basically shaped out. That allows the wood to shrink or move, whatever it's going to do. From that point, then we take the horse and we check for any breaks, broken legs, broken anything, you know, saddle pieces.
Sure.
We take these off and we re-glue them and dowel them back together.
Right.
After that process, then we start the sanding process. We sand them. We replace little pieces like so in here. And that particular horse they're dental as the carver. They're very unique menageries. You can see the difference in the two lions. You've got two completely different lions carved by the same carver here. See the difference in the mane. Much more detail in this one than there is in this particular one. As far as repair is concerned, dental pieces are usually well constructed and they don't require as much repair as some of the others.
Well, for instance, I noticed the legs down here were looking a little skanky. Down here.
Okay, I see what you mean. Here, depending on how serious, I think you're talking about this.
Well, yeah, and then on this one as well. They're just the wood's,
Okay,
the wood's old and tired.
any place right here. Here's a good example of what you're talking about. What we'll do is we'll disassemble this and refit this and re-cement this. We'll glue it again and dowel it all over again, where these pieces are coming off like that. Any failure like that. This is why we have to wait for the 10 days to 2 weeks after the stripping process for this type of thing to happen, and then we because it's going to happen anyhow. Then we'll disassemble it if necessary. The leg will be completely taken off, or if necessary, we'll make a new piece for that if that doesn't fit back together properly.
Are you getting the footage of the artwork that was in the on the carousel, on the center housing, or up on the rounding boards and such like that? And these frames are also part of the carousel. They are also made of wood, and they have to be repaired as well, or stripped and redone as well.
And what about this
The
chariot piece
chariot,
over
the
here?
chariot side here. This is the romantic side of the chariot.
And why is it called romantic
Okay,
side?
the romantic side. Every horse, every animal, every chariot on all carousels have a romantic side and a more or less plain side of them. The reason why they have the romantic side is because that's the side that faces the outside of the carousel.
Okay.
Okay, that's the side that when you look at this animal and you're coming, and because we turn this way,
Yeah.
which is a counterclockwise motion.
Yeah.
Okay, that's clockwise, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's clockwise. Yeah, it's clockwise. Okay. When we go this way, that's the way the horse is going to face, because you're going to go in this manner. So you want this side of the horse to be the side that's going to be noticed more. It's the side that's going to stand out and say, "Hello, ride me." Okay. When you look at that side, you look at the other side on majority of the horses here. This might be an English horse here. I don't know. That's an English horse, possibly. You look at the other side of the horses, and it's not so. See, that's where it's backwards. I knew it. I knew we went counterclockwise. I don't know why I'm looking at that. That is an English horse.
Figures they go in the wrong direction.
Yeah. This is the unromantic side. This is the romantic side.
Here, hold on. Let me.
That's what it is. See.
Okay. Let me see. I have a good shot on here.
You'll
so why don't
notice. You'll notice this all the in-depth carving, the detail work on the carving work in here, on the romantic side of the animal. All this cross carving and everything like that in there. It gives it more depth. It gives it more life in this area. You'll notice that the reliefing on the carving is deeper on this side here than it would be on the other side, because the other side of the animal is the side that faces the inside of the carousel, and you don't see that as much. So this is known as the romantic side, and this was usually carved by the master carver of the particular carousel company. Would be carving. The master carver would carve this side. The apprentice would work on the other side. He would do something on the same lines as this. If we can look at the opposite side of this, he would do more or less, but not in so much detail. He would do the same type of a thing, but it doesn't get into the detail work that he did on the other side. You'll notice that the cross carving over here, it stops over here. It's totally gone over here. You'll notice that on the other side, when you took all the trappings over here, they had a lot more detailing to them, and this is just totally plain.
Right.
So the master carver, the apprentice, and on the head would be done by the owner of the company. It became the trademark of the particular company, because the master carvers and the apprentices, as they would continue, the head became the trademark. So that the owner of the company would carve the head. You can see this is an earlier stencil than this one here is a later stencil. You can see how they even the owner, as his carving progressed, how he went from this to more detailing in the mane and such like this, more detailing in the facial area. There's more expression. There's more muscle tone carved into it, and you can see that this is a lion. This looks more like an abstract of a lion to where this looks like a lion.
Right.
Okay, you can see the mane. You can see all the lines to give you the feel of the hair of the mane. Whereas this doesn't really give you that much flow, that much life to it. This does give you all the life. But this is the same carver as did this. But this is his earlier work. This is his later work.
Okay, now, what is it that you've got in this bin?
These are all body parts to horses. We have the back sides, the side pieces. This is a side piece with part of the legs attached to it. These are all totally delaminated and what we would refer to as a basket case type pieces. These were all jumbled when we got a hold of these. Bill was informed by a carousel lover that he had a whole bunch of pieces to carousel horses, and asked if he wouldn't like to come over and take a look at them, or if he might want them. So he came and he got them. And when he brought them in, we found that the carvings on these were quite nice and quite lovely, where we have all that detailing of the carving in here, and it's all beautiful carving. And when these animals are put back together, they will be very beautiful animals, very beautiful. And we hope to put them back together just the way they were when they were originally conceived. Something like this, and as far as we know, we don't have all the pieces available, but what pieces are missing, we can replace with wood and in-carve to the design that is on there so that we can get it all together and make it look the same.
Yeah.
And you can see how they all line up. And that would now make the entire side of this horse. Right in here that it's made by Stein and Goldstein, and the address where it was on 66 Cherry Street, Brooklyn, New York. And that's where Stein and Goldstein did their work. And you can see the depth of the relief of the carving and how the detailing is to where when this is painted it would look like a strap with a snap or a strap with a button. The tassels, when they're painted, they come to life and they jump out at you. And you can see that that's a tassel. You have no doubt in your mind that is a tassel.
Yeah.
The carving of the blanket, the way it is undercarved and reliefed like this, when painted and on the horse, it almost gives you that effect that it is an actual blanket that's sitting on the horse under the saddle, like a saddle blanket. It's just unbelievable. But what they would do is, if you can see this one is loose, what they would do is they would take and they would laminate a basswood on top of the poplar that the body is made of. They would laminate a basswood and do this relief carving on such a depth and everything like that in the basswood because it's an easier wood to carve. And it is still in the same family as the poplar wood, in the same genus of woods. So that they would laminate these together, the grains would be pretty much the same, and yet they could do the carving of the detailing of the leaves and of the rose and of this particular tulip or whatever. They could detail it easier because it's easier to carve, and you can get a lot more detailing with the easier carved wood.
Interesting.
We want to go across the grain.
Yeah, we got these cameras for our access folks. Can you just run your finger from the top, made by Louvre?
See, you feel that it's rough there. We never sanded that too much because we didn't want to get that out.
It lost its relief over the years.
Okay, now start again. What kind of horse is this?
This is a steeplechase horse. And what this would do, instead of riding in a circle on it like a merry-go-round, it would ride on a track more like a roller coaster or something like that. Not that it would take all those big, high rides and stuff like that on a roller coaster, but as it went around the track, it would go at quite a fast clip. And it would go over bumps on tracks like this to give you the effect that you're in a steeplechase race and it would be jumping over. And they would have to hold on for dear life on this horse when they did those rides. The person on the front or in the back would hold on to the person in the front. The person in the front would either hold on to a handle that was put into this area here or wrap its arms right around the neck to hold on for dear life. The interesting thing about that ride, when they got off of that ride, they used to have to go out through a tunnel onto a stage. And when they got onto the stage, they would have like the air jets that would blow the women's dresses up and stuff like that, and everybody that was on the ride previous would be sitting in the audience watching these people make fools of themselves coming off that ride.
You see a zebra there. That's kind of unusual, isn't it?
Well, zebras are common on menagerie carousels. They're not too common on your standard carousels with basically horses, but on a menagerie carousel you will see a zebra from time to time, a camel, lions, tigers, bears, dogs, cats,
Okay, I see a dog
rabbits.
down here. For
This is a
instance.
Mexican piece.
This piece right here is a good example of how
This particular dog is a Mexican carousel piece that was carved after Lady from Lady and the Tramp. Over on the other side, we have Superman that was taken from the Superman comic books. It's also a Mexican piece. And the Mexicans, what they did when they put their kiddie carousels together, what they did is basically took all their characters from our comic books from the United States.
This is kind of a neat
elephant
here.
The elephant in the middle is a German carved chariot. It's the top section gave you the effect of sitting in a haddock, taking a ride with Hannibal over the mountains or something like that. It's a Hein piece. Hein was a German carousel carver, and that comes off of I believe a carousel from Santa Land.
Now,
the mural in the background over here is being painted by a local artist named Portland Hole, and he's been coming right along. The original concept that he put together on this mural was this line sketch that he had made, and he was going to do the mural on the same type of a basis as the line sketch, but he didn't like the way it was coming out on a line sketch. So he decided he was going to put some life into it with color and do it in color and come up with a more of a fantasy look of the mural, and that's why the colorist has been put in.
now,
This particular display here gives you your variances, styles of chariots and such like that.
Okay,
You've got to start from that end. Over there you have
you can get a better shot of it from here.
this is an Ilian chariot, and this one is also off of a ride from Rhode Island, I believe. It's from Squamicut, Rhode Island, from Atlantic Beach Park in Squamicut, Rhode Island.
Now, what about the one next to it?
The one next to it, we have two of these in this display. These are carved by the carving house of Carmel, and they were bought by a gentleman by the name of M.D. Borelli, who was a frame maker. And Mr. Borelli had this loving love of gems and thought it gave it more life and more brilliance to the pieces. So what he would do is he'd buy Mr. Carmel's carvings. And if you see the beauty of the carving of the Carmel, the detailing of the swan, of the angel in the back over there with the leash to the swan, with the shell that's in there that the swan is towing. You see all the detailing of the flowers and such like that. Well, all that carving and all that relief of the carving was all done by Carmel's carving shop. And then Mr. Borelli would take it, and he would take a drill bit to it, and he'd set all these little insets in them and put all these gems in it. It's almost like taking a master's work and bringing it home like a master painter of yesteryear. He has a landscape, and you hang the landscape on the wall, and you say, well, it needs a tree over here, and you add a tree into it. You know what I mean? This is what he's done to Carmel's work. This one's the same way. If you look at the just the detailing of the pheasant, of the crow, of the lion, of the hunter. You look at the detailing of it, and then Mr. Borelli bought the piece and put his drill bit to it and put all those gems in it.
Now, what about this?
This one in the middle is from a French carousel. It's a Cinderella chariot. It's off of a kid's carousel ride. The kids never actually rode in the chariot. They rode in the footman's seat and in the driver's seat, so that they can get an idea that they were taking Cinderella to the ball and fantasize on that particular aspect.
When would this have been carved?
This one here, I believe, is in somewhere in the area of about 1890 or something like that. This particular chariot was done by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company, or PTC. The carver is unknown. We don't know who the carver was, because Philadelphia Toboggan Company, what they were was a business company that organized the carvers so that the carvers could make a better living and more money off of the work that they did, and as well as the Philadelphia Toboggan Company was making more money because they got all the best carvers. And this was done from the Liberty carousel. You can see the Lady Liberty and the flag in the back over there. Somebody did something interesting on this particular piece when they had it on a carousel or something like that. Almost all carousels or chariots, if you notice, they always had something for you to look at while you're riding on the chariot, on the backs of the seats. If you come over to this side over here, you'll see that somebody decided to put a little fantasy on the back side of this particular chariot, and they put Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. If you look at the caramels over there, the paintings that are on the backs of the seats over there, they almost always did this just to give the person that was sitting there something pretty to look at. And you can see that they always put this on both seat backs, and not on the French carousel, but
Now
also
they have
look at
something
this.
to look at.
So they have something pretty to look at. And then the person sitting in this seat had this back to look at.
Yeah, let me just kind of shoot down from right here.
Had this back to look at. And these are all the original paintings. And of course, the person sitting in the front seat yesteryear. What they tried to instill in people's minds when they made this display here was the types of tools that were used in those days, the type of a tool chest that you might find, the types of clamps, oil cans, planes that were made of wood. That's a plane for planing the wood, and this was made of wood itself. The different styles of carving, the idea of how a piece was put together and how we put the hoof area onto the leg is with a hide glue and a dowel. You'll notice that the dowel is in there, and the hide glue would attach this on the flat surfaces to the hoof, and the dowel went through to give it good stability. And you can see the two notches here for the dowels that went through this particular leg to attach it to the horse.
Can you tell me a little bit about how,
This horse?
yeah, for instance, I go to the Crescent Park carousel and I see a horse complete.
Yeah.
This shows it really broken down into parts.
Uh-huh. And you can
It
see
gives
you can see through the hole here because of the antiquity of it.
Yeah.
Okay, you can actually
Now-
see that this is the body of this of any horse that you see that's a carousel horse is made of a box of laminated wood. And you can see the lamination lines here because this particular horse over the years has delaminated. And what happens after a while is if it's exposed to the weather and to moist conditions and stuff like that, the glue does break down and it delaminates. But when they put it together, they take these separate pieces, they glue with a hide glue in between them, and then with the large clamps like this one here, they clamp that right down together and then glue it in and let it set.
What
And this
about
laminates
the legs
woods.
then?
The legs are carved usually separately with pieces that are laminated together, and then they are attached. As you can see in this particular instance, these were attached with a mortise tenon type situation. All right, mostly they're attached flat, and then they're drilled and doweled. This particular horse, which is a very, very early, almost to a primitive type style of carving, was done with a mortise and tenon type of attachment situation. This particular horse is one of the original horses off of the original carousel at Lake Compounds in Bristol, Connecticut. The carousel that's there now was put into existence at 1911. This one here was prior to 1911. It was on the other side of the lake, and the gazebo that was housing it is still existing. But this particular horse, you can see the different laminations on the side over here, where the pieces were laminated together to make the head. There's a big split right down the middle of the head, where the two pieces were laminated together here. Again, another side piece with the lamination in the lamination. So they had actually 4 pieces that were laminated together in order to carve this particular head. To get the neck depth, to get all the detailing out, they had the 4 pieces laminated together.
All 4 of those are carved by M.C. Illians. Illian was known for his gold leaf tails and manes, and they are all 23-karat gold.
And what about moving across?
One here, I believe is a loop. I really need help on that one. I'm not sure if it's a loop or a carmel. I don't normally work down here.
Okay, that's okay. Just do that's okay.
One's-
Going across.
The one in the back there is a middle row PTC, carved by John Zalar. PTC was an amusement company rather than a carousel company. And
What
the
about
next-
this green one down here? Any idea?
this here is a dental. This one in the front. Am I right, Michelle? This is a dental. The white one, is that a Carmel or a loop?
That's an alien.
That's an Illians?
Yep.
Get out of
Okay, what about the one with the cougar?
here. Okay, the one with the mountain lion, the next one with the shield, the next one with the flowers, plus these 2 little ones in the middle with the flowers are all off the same ride. Those are all PTCs, and they all belong to a company in Syracuse, New York. This also gives you an idea of the different sizes. The mountain lion, flower, and the shield one in the center are all the outside row. The one that you looked at over here, and this one over here with the flowers in the back, the one with the pink flower, and this one with the yellow flower over here, are the middle rows. They're a little simpler carved, but they still do have carvings on them. This yellow one and this brown one here are the middle rows. They're the inside rows, the smallest row, and it gives you an idea of the difference in size between the great big one here and this little one here. This one in front is a loof, an early loof, and one of the dead giveaways on a loof horse is the jewels. He used only the starburst jewels like that, and a lot of the composites with the tassels and the medallions. This horse here is in the natural wood, and it's been varnished. That is a sweet-faced dental, called such because it has such a sweet-looking face. And except for that little brown one, which is a PTC off of the same ride as the other 3 here are all Carmels. The one in the back is in park paint. This one is in a stripped, unpainted condition. And this one here is pretty close. I would say the body colors are pretty close to natural or the original paint.
Okay, good.
This white one here is an Illians, carved by the same as the first 4 that we saw. This is how they looked on the ride. All the horses on the ride were painted white. The others were after they've been restored. This one here is an example of a fairground art kind of horse. It's a Parker, and Parkers were known for their very outstretched body, for their ease of moving them from fairground to fairground and park to park. This particular piece shows a lot of what people did to repair the animals. They used whatever they had handy, whether it be nails or framing nails. They had special corrugated like staples. This one here was repaired by somebody that obviously had a lot of knowledge in the tin working rather than the woodworking, and that's how they repaired him to keep him going on the ride.